react automatic and we burst and squeeze and make 9/11 each emergency. Urgency, ambulance arrest like the turn and leave. Oh, please let the hurt see. Don't let apathy police the populace. We will march across those stereotypes that were marked for us. The answer's obvious. We switch the consonants and change the thoughts to words and lick continent. Rise, together we rise, together we rise, together we rise.
Rise up, America. Don't become Omerica. Thank you for joining us on our program Deadline Live, AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you don't know who Randy Weaver is, you must have been living in a cave in Afghanistan somewhere. No, I think those guys know who Randy is as well. This next month in August will be the, I believe, 17th anniversary of the siege on Ruby Ridge. He has written an excellent book in his personal account of this, The Federal Siege at Ruby Ridge by Randy and Sarah Weaver. Randy was up with us at Ed and Elaine Brown's for the concerts we did up there almost 2 years ago today. Recent information shows that he will be called as a witness for the trial, which takes place, the standoff trial for Ed and Elaine Brown, which begins here next week. All kinds of interesting people have turned up on the witness list, including allegedly yours truly. But Randy is just a great guy, a great American, a true patriot, really has done his homework and understands what we're dealing with when we talk about people like the New World Order and the international globalists. He is now at an undisclosed location. I won't tell him unless you want to. But, Randy, thank you for joining us on the air, my friend. Good to have you with us.
Well, thanks, Jack. Good to be with you.
We're working on getting my show back on where you're at, wherever that is.
Good. We're going to work on it.
Hey, well, I mean, the anniversary, once again, is drawing nigh for the standoff at Ruby Ridge. You were involved in a standoff yourself. I mean, this just shows the viciousness of the BATF, of the FBI, of our alphabet agencies, our authorities. I guess the Browns had a lot to be concerned about. That's why they brought you in a way, and I guess you were almost a shield for them, as were we, because we knew that at the point where we were 2 years ago, that these guys were set to be Ruby Ridge themselves.
Yes. I think that the feds played it a lot cooler this time, and what they did was they just waited until the Browns had no company whatsoever. And I don't know the story for sure, but what I understand is that Ed let like a half a dozen people in. They were supposed to show up and come help him do something there at the house, work on some kind of project, and they turned out to be undercover agents. And that's how they caught him. And that's really basically all I know how they got caught. But it could have been nasty. And you know, I honestly believe that things are going to get. They're going to cut loose one of these days, and they're going to go after a whole bunch of us again if we don't get things straightened out in Washington, D.C.
It seems to be setting up for that. If you look at how they're targeting themselves, or how they're targeting us right now. I mean, all of this talk about us being, you know, a racist, terrorist, right-wing extremists. I have trouble saying that word, and no wonder why. It kind of reminds us of how things were back in the Bush-Clinton area when your family came under attack. I mean, we're seeing this kind of return to domestic terrorism in a way that we actually predicted, knowing that Obama and Napolitano were coming in.
Well, that's true. And they do it to individuals, and they do it just like they do it to other countries. Like they're bad-mouthing Iran big time now, and Ahmadinejad. And I have listened to Ahmadinejad speak, and he is a very intelligent man. I happen to like the guy myself, but they want to get something going over there and get a big deal going. You know, Israel has used this country to do their dirty work for many years now. And they're getting prepared to use our boys. You know, they're using them in Iraq, Afghanistan. They want them in Pakistan, and they want to put them in Iran now. And I wish the American people would wake up and understand that we shouldn't even be out of the country. Let them other countries take care of themselves. But the domestic terrorist thing, they are the domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
And actually, the Washington, D.C. boys, they are totally controlled anymore by the bankers, and most of them are offshore bankers, right out of London and Paris and wherever.
Yeah, we've talked about that stuff for years, Randy, and now we see it all coming into view with this recent economic 9/11 that we've seen happen, where they're able to centralize power even more. I mean, even as Ron Paul is gaining signatures, more and more signatures for his bill to audit the Fed, Obama's continuing to centralize it.
Yes, and Vicky, my wife, and I thought that what's happening right now is going to happen in the mid to late 80s. And it didn't happen then. It's coming down now. They're serious, and they're going leaps and bounds now. And I don't see how this country can be in any normal state whatsoever by the end of next year anyway. Randy, if it is, it'll surprise me.
I want to talk more about this kind of stuff, too, but let me ask you this question. Do you think that the attack on your family at Ruby Ridge was meant to send a message to the rest of us out there who would oppose this de facto government? In other words, look what can happen to you. Look what we did to the Weaver family. First question, do you believe that you were being used as an example for the rest of us?
Well, yes. You see, when I run for sheriff in '88, my main part of my platform was that I was not going to allow federal agents at all to operate in Boundary County, Idaho. And I did 3 radio call-in programs, and I asked my opponents to come on air with me, and they wouldn't do it, to have a discussion. But people would call in, and this one county father or town father, whatever, called in. He said, "Well, Mr. Weaver, how are you going to keep the feds out of the county?" I said, "What I'll do as sheriff, I will deputize all the hillbillies up here, the old Vietnam veterans, and the old hippies that are up in this area, which was about 50% of the county. They understand the federal government's totally criminal anymore, and they'd love to come to town with their hunting rifles and arrest them guys." And that's exactly what I had done, too.
We didn't see that happen in Plainfield, New Hampshire, where the local authorities stood aside when we were being harassed by Homeland Security and, inside that perimeter. Do you have any doubts, Randy, that if Bo Greitz and Jack McClam hadn't showed up and the eyes of the world weren't on you and your family back in 1991, that they'd have just wiped you guys all out?
Well, they'd killed us all, yeah. Absolutely, they'd killed us all. In fact, this day, some of them federal agents, after they say their only mistake was not finishing all of us off.
They shot your young son. They shot your I guess foster son. They shot your wife while she was holding your baby, and they shot you in the back.
Yeah, they shot the dog in the back first, and they shot my boy in the back and killed him. And they shot me in the back, and then the next time they shot my wife through the head, and that same bullet about killed my stepson.
The thing is, Randy, I think, if we hadn't have gone up and helped the Browns, I mean, that could have turned out a lot worse. Did you ever see the footage? This was released a little bit later when they first got Danny Riley, and he had claimed that they had shot at him, and there was, I guess, some people weren't sure if that had actually happened, and then somebody from the inside released the actual footage from the marshal's office, and sure enough, they took a shot at him. I mean, at that point, when you have people shooting at you, shouldn't you take every means to protect yourself? I mean, that would be seemingly the defense of the Browns, after which they were, prosecuted in a kangaroo court for not paying their taxes. We've got Tim Geithner not paying his taxes. So, I mean, should we surround Tim Geithner's house and then accuse him of not protecting himself?
I think Geithner just to tip the iceberg. I think if we checked into it, you'd find out most of the congressmen and all them other people in there, Somers and a whole bunch of them, they're all a bunch of crooks, and they probably all pay taxes.
I mean, I think we just thank God that Ed and Elaine weren't killed in front of the world, and that's what we tried to do, is put that spotlight on them. How do you feel now about them being brought up on these standoff charges? We'd hoped that hadn't happened. They have 30, 40 years hanging over their head for IEDs and everything else the government allegedly claims they had.